Okay, I see you.
I see you.
I see you.
I see you.
I see you. I see you, bro.
Okay, I see you.
Hey,
Go
yo,
ahead.
my folk. I see you.
Okay, I see you.
Okay, I see you.
Okay, I see you.
All right, guys, who plays you in your biopic? Let's start with you, Drea.
I'm gonna go with Ryan Destiny.
Okay, so Raven.
Mine's an obvious answer. It's Blue Ivy Carter.
Okay. Greg, how about you? Who you got?
I think in a just world, Kenan Thompson.
Okay.
But I think in my world, I would prefer a younger Denzel.
Okay, young Denzel. So, how about you, Jeremiah? Who you got?
So I'm gonna say, if I'm not being pretentious, I'll say Tariq Withers. If I am, then I'll say Drake.
Okay. Hey, bring Drake back to the movies.
Yeah.
No.
All right, guys, let's get started. Welcome to the Final Cut from Everybody Critic. This is a debate show where we talk the latest and greatest in movies. I'm your host, Chris. On my panel today are my favorites from Everybody Critic. Let's start with Greg.
How we doing, everybody?
Raven. Drea. And today's special guest is Jeremiah, founder and designer of Paradise Brothers clothing brand.
Thank you.
Good to be with you guys.
Good to be with you.
On the show today, we'll talk about the record-breaking Michael biopic and its polarizing reception, the potential death of the biopic genre, and we'll cap it off with our GOAT biopic picks. In Hollywood, the final cut is the ultimate power over a film. Today, only one of you gets that power. Let's get started, guys. Michael continues to break box office records with theaters packed and audience members going viral, dancing in the aisles in front of the screen, going crazy, while critics have by and large panned the film, leading to discussions about the accuracy of the audience score versus the critic score. Is this a headline or a headache? Let's start with you, Jeremiah.
Yeah, I think I can understand both sides. I think that it's more of a headache. I think that the film seemed to be made for the audience and for the people that grew up on Mike, for the people that have loved him forever. It didn't feel to me like a super, super honest representation of Michael. I would have loved to see more raw, gritty, honest take of the movie. But I also understand that it's Hollywood. I understand that they are in it to make money at the end of the day. I'm just hoping that part 2, they're able to show more honesty and just give us a little bit more depth. I want to understand the genius behind the person rather than just the hits and all the hit style biopic. So
Okay. Hear that? Greg, how about you?
I will say it's I guess I fall down on the headache part. Only because like that's going to be the divorce from what people enjoy with movies, and more specifically who the movie is about versus what it actually takes to make a good movie. Like, for example, I think the reason that this one fell so flat, or my large criticism of it, was the script. And then of course the editing, which we have heard is was influenced a lot by the estate and the family. And so that more so had to do with the actual movie making, where even if the movie was the exact same, but there was a better script and better pacing and better editing, I think more critics would have agreed that, yes, this is this great movie that all of the audiences have been praising so far. But I think that's just the divorce from what a normal day-to-day person enjoys versus someone who is critiquing a movie based on the factors of a movie, where they fall on opposite sides. So I think it's a bit of a headache, but I mean, that's, I think, no pun intended, that's just human nature.
hey, that's great.
So let's get you in there, Drea. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with headline. I think that anytime you can get folks out to the movies, out to the theater in droves, and people are bringing, new generations of their family, young kids, they're going with their grandparents, they're going with their parents. Anytime you kind of break that generational divide and get people out there to see something, I think that's a win. And so even though I may have my own personal critiques about the film, which I'm not gonna really get into right now, but I think that ultimately this is a headline. It's a great thing that we had record-breaking numbers of people coming to the movie, and that's regardless of whether they liked it or hated it or something in between. I think it's really good to have people at the theaters.
Yeah. How about you, Raven? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a headline. I agree with you, Drea. I think it points to a very relevant debate that I feel like we're constantly having about who is it that really decides or makes something a successful movie. So you have critics that have all of this wealth of knowledge on movies. They see everything within a year. And obviously they can point to all of this like historical context. But at the end of the day, like they aren't who are filling the seats. It's the audience that's doing that. And I think generally speaking, the average moviegoer isn't reading critic reviews before they decide to buy a ticket. And they're actually going because they heard someone talk about it online or they heard a friend say that, oh, this was a really fun watch. So I kind of feel like you can't have a cult classic without audience buy-in, and that this like kind of debate really points to the disconnect between audience and um, what they enjoy and what critics value. And I think that that's what makes it a headline because like there is that disconnect, and like I think we should talk about like how you can feel it.
Yeah. Anybody want to get in with some last thoughts on Michael specifically?
There is no reason that we should have seen the second verse of Bad. That's just wholly unacceptable.
Yeah.
To every facet of movie making. But yeah.
Yeah. And to your point, yeah, I do think it's good people are able to go to the theaters, and maybe people who haven't been to movies since COVID are now gonna go see Michael.
Yeah.
I feel like criticism oftentimes, it really kind of shapes your movie going experience. Like if you're not seeing it on Thursday night opening, you're not seeing it till Sunday. There's now 3 days of people that have seen it and are telling you, oh, it's not that good. It's not that good. It's not that good. So now when you're going in, you kind of have this idea of what, Michael is gonna be.
Yeah.
Where you may see things where you originally would have liked it, but now it's kind of just so.
I had a problem in general with not whoever made the question, but the framing of it, whether it's good or bad, that they made all this money, but the reviews were bad, is because, and kind of to Raven's point, you don't like, I can't see the movie before I pay for the ticket. I got to pay for the ticket. So like, obviously it's going to make a whole bunch of money if like me and everybody else in the world knew who Michael Jackson was and want to go see a movie about him. And so whether or not that is a good or bad thing, where it made so much money, is simply something that like is just a fact of how famous or how much audience intrigue exists before the movie comes out. You know what I'm saying? If there was a movie about my dog from third grade, no one would really care because no one knew my dog in third grade. But it's a movie about Michael Jackson, so obviously it's going to make a lot of money, even just off of the name itself.
And I think that also like points to like the day and age we live in too, on like social media kind of shapes everything. Whereas like, in our parents' generation, for example, people were probably looking in the newspaper like, well, what did the newspaper say about this movie? Now it's like you heard your best friend, your auntie, everybody on Facebook, you scroll through 3 videos on TikTok. Like it just I feel like it makes movie making honestly kind of tough.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that social media is like really shaping it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Great discussion. With round 1, I'm going to tally up the score, and I'll be right back with you. All right. With the first round score, you've got Greg with 6, Drea with 5, Raven with 9, Jeremiah with 6. Now the big debate, our main event, where we dive deep into the industry's biggest questions. As we just said, the box office numbers of our videos for Michael were definitely a headline, no matter what you guys said on that last round. But the production history of the film reveals a massive crisis for the genre. Reports confirm that the movie we're seeing isn't the one originally shot. Last-minute discovery of an old legal clause forced $15 million in reshoots to scrub the third act that allegedly featured the FBI raid on Neverland. But this isn't about just one film, guys. From Netflix recently shelving a finished Prince documentary from O.J. Made in America's director Ezra Edelman because the state didn't like the narrative, to high-budget celebrity docs that feel more like commercials than journalism. The era of the unfiltered look at our icons seems to be over. That being said, is the celebrity biopic and documentary over as a genre, or is it something that could survive in this current landscape? Let's start with you, Drea.
Yeah, I think two things, right? And like up front, I would say that there are elements that need to be at play, such as like I don't really want a biopic of somebody that I'm not really caring about. For example, I don't care about Bob Dylan, so I watched on that. I do love Timothy Chalamet as an actor. I did watch that movie, and it was a snooze. I fell asleep multiple times. So I think obviously Bob Dylan is maybe important to somebody else, not to me. So the star has to be kind of big enough, and we have to have enough of their life, not just a highlights reel of all the great things, they were in. Like, again, Michael was a good movie to me. I liked it. I do think that there's too much sanitization of him that kind of made the movie feel a bit useless. If I don't get to know more about the person that is the subject, is it really worth it to have this? So I think I'm somewhere in between. Maybe we need to make these obsolete. Maybe they don't need to exist anymore. And if we're going to do them, let's do them justice. So somewhere in between there. I'm in a gray area.
Yeah, it's good. Let's go with you, Greg.
So I have a bit of a hot take in that I think in the social media era, or in the era of where we put people in, you are either a good person or you are a bad person box, and then we judge them and we judge everything they do based off of that. I think that we are not going to get a good and honest biopic about any of us. Like, let's say we get famous tomorrow, we're not going to get a good and honest biopic until everybody's dead, until 100 years from now, where other people who can look at it from not a completely objective point of view, but a more objective point of view than the people who are around us or dealt with us or have some sort of handling on the image of our narrative. And I just don't believe that in this day and age that we're just gonna get that. And so, to your point, the film did feel a bit useless in that, like, I kind of already knew everything. Like, there wasn't anything that I learned. I feel like they portrayed his sadness pretty well, but I did not learn anything new about him. I would have loved to learn more, but I just didn't. And I think in general, we're just not going to get that. Like, I feel like in our parents' day, or, even past generations, there was a trope of, like, even if somebody was they were a lovable bad boy, or they were the starlet who just didn't care. But, they also weren't shunned because of their actions or some maybe less than appropriate things that they did. I feel like nowadays, if you have any sort of allegations about anything, even if it comes down to being a rude person at brunch, like, you're just a bad person now, and you don't know how to treat people, and you're a bully, and you're just bad. And so I just think that because we're competing, or because people are trying to fight to be like, no, Michael was a good person, he was pure of heart and loved children, that we can't learn anything actually real and concrete about him, because that's the image that has to be held up. And so, yeah.
Yeah, what you read?
Yeah, I mean, I think I read that Michael made 97 million domestically and then 217 globally. So like that alone in opener weekend says like biopics are here to stay. One of the headline I read was that musical biopics are making a killing off of people who don't want the truth. And to me, that says, like, if the money keeps rolling in, the studios are going to keep making the movies. Like, that's what studios, at least most of them, care about. So to me, that's not a dead genre. But at the end of the day, I think the question should actually be, should it be a dead genre? And for me, I think yes. I feel like if estates don't want an audience movie, then they shouldn't allow the movie to be made. This like watered down fanfic version is not only pointless to me, but also tone deaf. I think audiences also value authenticity. I mean, there's a reason that these like unfiltered documentaries, investigative podcasts, true crime, like they are all doing really well. Like there's like a renaissance of those things now because I think people want the full story. But if a celebrity has a well-known indiscretion and you leave it out, That's not really storytelling. That's rewriting history. And if they've done harm, it's unfair to both their own victims and also victims of people that have faced a similar trauma to try to rewrite the history books in that way. I think that we shouldn't allow, like, it's okay to be abusive or a scammer or violent to be what we are conveying with the movies that we're putting out. Like, it's okay to do that as long as you put out a good product. Like, to me, like, that's just like not cool. I don't think we need movies that are PR or doing damage control. I read a study that was by the Center for Media and Social Impact on the state of journalism in the documentary filmmaking scene that found that 52% of people are trusting documentaries more than their typical news sources. So I think that that points to like a responsibility for us to be authentic in the stories that we're telling. That's more than 50% of people. So I think the biopics and documentaries should be honest. And if they can't, then filmmakers should make fiction.
Yeah. Where do you land on this, Jeremiah?
I don't think that biopics are going anywhere. I think that they're gonna be around forever, no matter, if Michael, debut with 10% Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think that that would change anything. I think that people are gonna go see them regardless. It doesn't matter how bad something is, what you hear about something. And I think that regardless of how good the movie is, I think that sometimes just being able to see maybe your favorite artist or your favorite actor on screen again for 2 hours, it almost makes them feel like they're still here in a way. And so I think even seeing Michael, it felt like, I wasn't around really when Michael was in his prime. So as much as I didn't love the movie, it was really cool to see those moments and to see the fans. And I think it's kind of like majority of the horror movies that I see are just not good. A lot of movies that I see in general are not good. But with horror specifically, I don't think you should stop making horror movies, because then every once in a while you get a classic. You get I don't know if Get Out's horror, but you get a Hereditary, or you get Evil Dead Rise or something like that, where it is really good and it is really fun and it makes you feel like it's the genre is back alive. And so like you guys were saying, I personally don't think that they're going anywhere. I think that they make way too much money for a studio to not do it. And I think that the generation that we have of the Drake or the Taylor Swift or the Beyonce or the Bad Bunny or Rihanna, I think in 15 years, maybe when they're not making music anymore, maybe when they're not in their prime, it'll be really cool to see, regardless of how good the movie is, it'll be really nice to see them on the big screen again. And so I think they're here to stay. I just think they need to do a much better job of being honest in the portrayal. I don't think that's going to happen. I would just love to see that happen.
Yeah.
Who plays Beyonce?
Blue.
Yeah, Blue.
Oh, they're gonna do that too. That's gonna fry me.
Yeah, they're going to do Blue.
Blue and
Yep.
Blue can do her Emmy.
Yeah.
I
What
would
do you
like
got?
to throw in something, just food for thought. I actually saw a tweet just a couple of days ago of people saying that Ryan Murphy, who did the OJ story, which is that series, he did the story of Versace, just did Carolyn Bessette Kennedy and John F. Kennedy Jr. And a lot of these stories, like, folks had passed away. So, like, to your point, Greg, I would say Ryan Murphy gets a lot of flack for how he kind of over dramatizes
Right.
these folks in their, they're gone, their family's not involved in these projects. So I guess I kind of would question, like, how does that work if, say, you don't have people connected to it in a sort of way, and now somebody is telling a story that feels larger than life, and like, okay, did that really happen? Like,
Right.
for example, I'll just throw this out there for reference, but in the latest JFK Jr. story that he did, there's a whole dialogue before the plane goes down where people are like, okay, that didn't happen. They weren't talking and like laughing or joking or being like, oh my gosh, like, like, let's hug, let's all hold hands. Like, we don't know what happened. Nobody knows what happened. And sometimes I think that's the flip side of it is you have maybe people being like, well, this didn't happen. We know that didn't happen. So yeah, I don't know. How would you
To respond, yeah, I would say that in my opinion, is a media literacy point that we're in a crisis right now, and we need to
absolutely
address that. The highest levels of our government need to address that. But I would say that, like, obviously, like, if I'm a movie watcher with that's using even a little bit of my brain, obviously no one has any idea what they said before the plane went down. So, like, in those small intimate moments, what you're getting at is guesses, but you're taking from what you know about those people's relationships. You know what I'm saying? So, like, obviously, like, they're gonna have to plug something in and take artistic license. But I think that we need to trust audiences to know that, like, yes, they're going to take artistic license with certain things, but we should show them to be honestly or objectively as much as possible, like, who they were. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Michael Jackson. I think he's one of the greatest artists of all time, if not the greatest. Human Nature is my favorite song ever in life, in the world. However, Michael wasn't just bopping around through life, like, speaking in this quiet voice, and he was so timid and scared of everybody. Michael Jackson was a superstar who the ladies loved, and every guy wanted to be him. Like, and he carried it like that when he was on stage, and he carried it like that when he was backstage. So, like, this, like, little feeble, oh, I don't have any friends, nobody talks to me. Like, stop it, bro. Like, yes, he was a very sad and obviously isolated person, but he was also a black man living in America who had access to vast amounts of wealth and vast amounts of pretty much anything that he wanted. So I would like to see that, not just this guy that was scared of his father into his late 20s and 30s.
Yeah, more
So,
depth, more
yeah.
meat on the bones, more like I was saying, I think even they could have stopped the movie where they did, and we could have still got more things that we don't know. And I think for with something as big as Michael, there was so many directions they could have gone. There's so much controversy. There's so much, some people on this side, some people on that side. I feel like they just could have gone so much deeper. And in a lot of biopics, I feel like they can just go deeper, but they kind of just play it safe, say it's surface level. We don't want to upset anybody. But yeah, with these stories, I'm like, I really want to see more. Like, one of my favorite movies is Wolf of Wall Street, and I feel like why I like that movie so much is because it seems like a very honest representation of how ugly, how disgusting that lifestyle was. But at the end of the day, you're still somehow kind of rooting for this guy after all of the bad that he did. You still kind of feel this soft spot for this guy, versus them just kind of sugarcoating everything and not showing you that real, raw, gritty
Yeah.
nastiness that happened in between that time. I think even with Michael, they could have shown so much that just made you love him more. So,
And Michael Jackson. Oh, sorry. But
I think that's a really good point, Jeremiah, because I am not that I'm not a Michael Jackson fan, but like I'm not like in the Michael Jackson chat showing feet. Like, I don't know. I just like don't know that much about him.
Yeah.
Like, I probably know less than like your average black
Yes.
person. And even with that fact, I didn't learn nothing from that movie. Like, I learned not a single thing. So it's like, what was the point of that? Just a concert? Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah.
Before we go, who do you put the fault on most for that? Is it the states? Is it the studios? Is it the filmmakers? Who's at fault when it's like this?
I blame Latoya and Jermaine.
Man.
Latoya and Jermaine.
where was Reby? But anyway,
I blame everybody. I don't even blame Antoine Fuqua. I blame almost everyone that was a part of it aside from the actors, because actors are just going off script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody that was a part of that should have looked at that. And I know, even to director's credit, they had to reshoot stuff. They couldn't put other stuff. But even then, I just feel like it was such a rush story outside of the reshoots where they just weren't going into depth. We have no idea who wrote any of the Jackson 5 songs. We have no idea really who was writing Michael's stuff. It was just very surface level. And so,
yeah.
That's a good
To that exact point, go and look up. I won't spoil it here. Go and look up the story of Human Nature, the person that wrote it, and then Michael's process of recording it. That would have been perfect to put in the movie, and it just simply just was not. So Go on YouTube and look it up. It is there for you. I won't spoil it, but that is the type of thing that we should have seen.
Yeah. Even going back to a question our Biopics did, after everything that we said here today, after all that audiences have said, if this movie ends up doing $800 million, are we right, or is the studio right? Are the people who made the movie right, or is everyone still kind of right?
It's a good conversation, guys.
Mhm.
Let me tally up the score for this round. All right, guys. After round 2, the big debate, we've got a barn burner here. Greg, 24. Raven, 24. Drea with a comeback to 22. And Jeremiah, 24. We'll see what you guys have for the last round.
Let's get it.
All right, guys. Our final round. This is called And Scene, our lightning round. I need your quick takes on this. GOAT biopic. Go, Drea.
I'm going to go with Selma. And here's why. I recall young me, maybe 16 or 17, went on a field trip in high school to see Selma. And I was appalled at how much there was a lack of respect for watching our civil rights icon pave his way through Selma, Alabama. I was disgusted because there was so much laughter, and I was like, we have to revere like our civil rights leaders. We have to cheer. Like, this is ridiculous. And it stuck with me. And I ended up seeing that movie after I saw it with our field trip. I ended up seeing it multiple times after that in theaters, just so that I could recoup the experience and make sure I was giving reverence. Like, Dr. King, like, come on. We can't thank you enough. We can't thank you enough.
All right, let's go, Greg. What you got?
Ali, because I feel like that was one of the more honest biopics I've seen in terms of who he was. They didn't sugarcoat that he was a womanizer. They didn't sugarcoat that he was poor after standing up for what he believed and not going to Vietnam. And that, yeah, he had to get back in shape to get back on top and, go through it for real. And his brainwashing by the nation and, his later interlocutions with Malcolm X. So for sure, Will Smith did a great job.
Eric?
Shout out Big Willie.
Yeah. Jeremiah, what you got?
That was probably me laughing in high school with our friends too, for sure.
Yeah.
But I got a Wolf of Wall Street. I think that's like one of my top 10 favorite movies ever. I think it's very honest. It's very fun. I think Leo does an incredible job. The whole cast does a great job. And yeah, I just like to see the ugliness behind the scenes. I really don't want the sugar-coated nonsense. Like, all that stuff is great. I want to see just the grit behind everything, and the honesty behind it. I feel like that movie does a really, really good job while being like, I don't know if it was nominated for Oscar, but it felt like it at least should have been. So
Yeah. Finally, let's go to you, Raven.
Okay. People might not like my answer here, but I want to start off by saying I don't care. Argue with your mom. My GOAT biopic, based on the real life Von Trapp family singers, is The Sound of Music.
okay.
And listen. We talked a whole lot today about how biopics are not real and how they take liberties. And if you're gonna take a liberty, then you could take a liberty, and that makes The Sound of Music a biopic. The movie's undeniable. I can't remember if it was just nominated for the Oscar that year or if it won. I know it was at least nominated. It is.
Julie Andrews won an Oscar.
Yes.
Yeah.
You clearly cannot deny our queen, Billie Andrews. Like, simply can't. The songs, they're still being sung. They are 16. My time, please. The songs are still being sung. They're still doing the play at different schools. I mean, the movie itself is undeniable. It's a goated movie, period. Let alone biopic.
Gotcha. Fair.
All right, guys. Loved your participation today. That concludes our final round. Give me a second to tally up the final score, and we'll see who came out on top. With 30 points, our winner today is Raven. It came down to it at the end.
Oh,
Greg 29, Drea 28, Jeremiah 28.
The Sound of Music is a biopic.
Oh my gosh.
And that officially wraps up our show today. Congratulations to our winner, Raven. Thank you, Jeremiah, for being our special guest today.
Absolutely.
We'll see you guys next time.
First, I would like to thank Greg for interrupting me in my last talk because that is what lost him this whole episode. But funnily enough, when I was preparing for my Final Cut rant, one of my topics was Julia Andrews being the goated actress. And so how funny is it that the Sound of Music is what got me the wind? So let's talk about Queen Julie, the Queen of Genovia. She is queen of actresses, many of them at least. And she gave us The Princess Diaries, Mary Poppins, The Sound of Music. They're coming out with more Princess Diaries. She is just queen. And I feel like as long as she is able to speak, I want her to act. I want to keep seeing her in everything because I love her. Everyone go watch her movies.